On today's episode, we're gonna make some amends because I have ignored this fairway finder for too long on this show. So many people have asked me to take a look at mini drivers over the years, and I finally have one in my hand. This is the new for 2024 tailor-made mini driver, and boy, is it a beauty. We're gonna talk about some of the technology packed inside, but before I do, let's talk about why you would want a club like this and what is exactly a mini driver if you don't know. So a regular driver is going to sit somewhere around 9 degrees, maybe 10.5 degrees, whereas a 3-wood is going to sit at about 15 degrees. You got some strong ones that might be 14, something like that, but in general, about 15 degrees for a 3-wood, where this club is right in between. This is 13.5 degrees, and there also is 4 degrees of adjustability built into this. But it's that Goldilocks region, some people think, where you're going to maximize distance and forgiveness off the tee. And again, people want to hit more fairways. That's why they would choose a club like this. There is some technology packed inside, so let's turn the camera around and take a look. Now, looking at this club, I love the retro vibes I'm getting from this TaylorMade. The copper and black, very reminiscent of the burners from the 90s. They're harkening back to that. Side note, is TaylorMade becoming a fashion brand? They've teamed up with Kith. They're doing all of these limited releases. Is that good for golf or not? Let me know down in the comments, but it's definitely a very, very good looking driver in terms of aesthetics. Now, if we talk about technology packed into this driver, there's a lot as well. In fact, these two weights are 13-gram weights that are swappable. You can put the heavy weight in the back, get a little bit more control. You can move that and swap it with the one in the front, put the heavy weight in the front, and now you've got a low spin version of this driver. Now, this driver comes, by the way, in 2 lofts. I've got the 13.5 degree here, but you can also get this in an 11.5 degree. I'd recommend 13.5 for most of us mere mortals because we're gonna need that little extra height in order to squeak out the extra yards for the most part with our swing speeds, which mine today is probably gonna live right around 100 miles per hour, and that's where a lot of us mere mortals live. Some other pieces of technology built into this club include twist face technology. We see that on a lot of TaylorMade drivers, including the Stealth and now QI10 models. That's basically going to forgive those off-center strikes. Us mere mortals don't always hit it on that tee in the center of the club like the pros do. You've also got the through speed pocket. That's going to give you as high as ball speeds as legally possible by the USGA and R&A. In case you're wondering about shaft, I've got the Mamiya Pro Force 65-gram stiff shaft on this bad boy. And again, I love that they've color matched this to not only the driver head, but also the grip, by the way. Look at that, that's a retro style grip as well. Just a classic. If you've played golf clubs in the 90s, like a lot of us have, you've seen something very similar to this before, but it's nice that it's all color matched here. Now, it's not technology, but in addition to the club that has the retro look, you've also got this very retro looking head cover in leather. It's definitely gonna stand out in your golf bag. It's old school. It reminds me again of those clubs from the 90s. Very, very cool. But coolness aside, will this thing perform? So on today's video, we're gonna test this club with a few shots, see if we've got extra accuracy, see if we would hit more fairways with the mini driver. The whole goal of this thing is to hit fairways. That's why you would use this over a regular driver. And then I'm gonna put it up against my regular driver, my gamer, and again, see how does this perform? Are we sacrificing too much distance with this mini driver? Let's get to work. All right, time to take some swings with this club. Now, I will say, looking down at the club, you've got, again, those classic retro looks. The TaylorMade dot in the middle is pretty cool as the alignment line. You see a little bit more of this club face because, again, it sits between the 3-wood and driver. I think it's a really, really nice package. You've got kind of something in between a matte and a high polished finish. It's right in between. Very nice half moon shape to it. Just a beautiful looking driver. All right, but beauty's one thing, performance is another. Let's see what happens. Well, I'll tell you what, it felt good off the club face. And that nice high trajectory, that high launch is pretty nice to see as well. As you can see, whoa, distance-wise, that rolled down to 256. I ended up setting a flag out there at 275, and I didn't think we'd come anywhere close to it, but that's pretty nice to see because that's pretty close to my normal driver distance. Club head speed was 100, ball speed 146, higher backspin than I'd have with the driver. That one was 4,100 RPM, but it's just a great looking result there. Wow. Felt amazing off the face too, by the way. Shot 2. Another good one. That started out just slightly left of target and it didn't go too far past where it started either. Nice little tight draw to it. Rolled out to 259 there. Again, this is surprising me in terms of distance. I guess it's possible that this club could replace 2 clubs in your bag, the driver and 3-wood, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Shot 3 here, because I want to make sure we're getting consistency. That one I hit a little heel side. As you can see, it's kind of tugged, but I mean, that's going to hit the fairway on most courses. And that one, well, shots that are pulled go a little further, but that on a 99 mile an hour club head speed, that thing went 268. Incredible. Backspin, better number there too, 2,900. I like that. So we're 3 for 3 in fairways as far as I'm concerned. Shot 4. We're getting very similar shot shape again, as you can see with all of these shots. Again, the distance I'm getting is driver distance. I don't even know what to say. That's shocking me. Club head speed 98, ball speed 142. The efficiency of this 1.45 is about as good as most drivers as well. And you can start to see there on the right, the grouping of these balls is pretty darn tight. All right, shot 5, and then we're gonna try some other things, including putting this right up against another one of my drivers. Now, that shot is different from the first 4. Just as I said how consistent this was, I hit a different type of shot there. Still got great distance, still probably would have found the fairway, but right side of the fairway. And again, 254, the total distance with this club. Wow, I mean, that's really all I can say is wow. I didn't expect to see the same type of distance that I would get out of a driver out of this club, which is gonna be 3 degrees weaker than my driver. It's also, by the way, gonna be 2 inches shorter in shaft length than a standard driver these days, which, for instance, the QI10, 45.5 inches. This is 43.5 inches, 2 full inches shorter. Generally, when you have a shorter length shaft, you're gonna get more consistency, but you're generally gonna sacrifice some distance, but I'm really not. I might not be hitting those 280 numbers when I really catch one perfectly, but I'm also not seeing the 220 to 230 shots when you hit a bad one. And I've hit a couple here. I hit one off the toe and definitely one towards the heel here in these first 5 shots. So impressive to say the least. I'm gonna take a few shots with my driver, my normal gamer driver, just so you can see the difference. Then we're also going to check out the turf interaction of this mini driver and see if could this literally act as pretty much a 3-wood as well. All right, next up is my Ping 10K, and the head looks comically big after looking at the little mini driver. I'll show you a side-by-side here on screen so you can see that. It feels heavier too, just that longer shaft, everything about it all of a sudden feels big and oversized. All right, there's a very emblematic drive from the Ping 10K for me. Now, we're squeaking out more distance there, 277, 278, very nice. All right, now that one was off the toe. Similar to our 5th drive with the mini driver, but you can see that is definitely going to be in the rough. And this, to me, is probably the most forgiving driver. No, it is the most forgiving driver of 2024. But you have a bad swing, as bad as that one was, and we're gonna have them as mere mortals, you're gonna see dispersion that's considerably different than that mini driver just gave us. I'm gonna hit 3 more here and then we're gonna compare these. All right, let's take a look at the stats here now. This is gonna be very interesting. First off, let's take a look at the dispersion map again. Much wider. We have this outlier here on the right. We've got this outlier here on the left. The TaylorMade's in between all of that. And again, especially with the exception of that one, which was hit pretty well off the toe, pretty tight grouping here indeed with the mini driver. Let's take a look now at the stats. So club head speed's gonna be very similar. We're within a half a mile per hour, 98.8 with the mini driver, 99.3. Again, having that extra long shaft That extra 2 inches is going to give you a little bit more club head speed in general, but here was a half a mile an hour difference. It turned into about a mile, let's see, 1.3 mile per hour in terms of ball speed. So you're not, again, losing too much efficiency. If we go back to efficiency or smash factor, 1.46 for both of these drivers, that's really incredible to see. I wouldn't have expected that at all. I would have expected the mini driver maybe around 1.4. So that's pretty incredible. So 1.3 mile per hour ball speed difference here. In terms of a launch angle, look at that. That's impressive. 12.3 and 12.3, they're the same. Very, very surprising. You're gonna get more spin here though with the mini driver as expected. 35.25 is what we averaged out to versus 27.74 with the Ping. The one I hit off to the right, by the way, 3,200 there with the Ping, but in general, it lives around the 2,500 mark on average. But again, we're looking at full averages here of these 5 swings. In terms of descent angle, this is going to translate into how much a ball rolls out. It's going to be steeper here with the mini driver because look at that, the peak height is also higher. We'll get to that in a second, but 38.1 to 34.4 with the Ping, so about 4 degrees steeper because the peak height was 6 feet higher. 30 yards to 28 yards with the Ping 10K. So you're getting a nice higher, softer shot, which is going to help especially those off-center hits. And that's why you have tighter dispersion, because you're not going to get as much roll out to the right or left when there's too much spin applied to the ball. The carry, 239 to 248, so we're under 10 yards difference. That's not bad, but that's about a club's length worth of difference. And total, 259 to 272 with the rollout. So here's the big question. Are you willing to sacrifice that about a club's length worth of distance for potentially considerably more dispersion? You're going to be playing out of the rough much more often. Now for the pros, they want the distance. They want to go as far as they possibly can. But I think for us mere mortals, being in the fairway more often is a helpful thing because maybe we're not so good at escaping the thick stuff like the pros or just escaping the trees like they can do. They never seem to hit a tree. It's amazing. But one more thing before we end this video that I want to test here is, could this be a 2-for-1 swap? Could I take both a driver and a 3-wood out of my bag and replace it with this mini driver? Well, I can only do that if I can hit them off the deck well. And like I mentioned before, TaylorMade claims that with their shape of the sole, they call it a K sole. I don't know where the K comes from because it doesn't look like a K to me. But they say that it provides good turf interaction. Let's find out. Let's put it to the test. With a 3-wood, I'm looking to get about 240 out of my 3-wood, 230 to 240, let's say. Let's see what we do here with the mini driver. I'm going to delete the stats out and we are going to hit some shots. All right, off the deck here. Shot 1. Whew! Wow. I struggled for a long time with my 3-wood. Finally just found a 3-wood I really liked, but I don't hit a 3-wood that far. Like I said, 240 would be like what I'd like to see. That was 253. 253, the backspin number about the same as we were seeing off the tee box, 3,500 RPM. That thing painted the line. Shot 2, let's see if we can repeat that. Oof, it felt great again. Wow, the peak height. That one's, you know, a little right of the center line, but that's going to be right side of any fairway, or right center of any fairway, I really should say. Shot 3. What happens to me, especially as I get tired later in rounds, is I get a little armsy. My body's late, and we saw it there. But I would say that would have a chance. That's probably in the rough, but you know, depending on how wide the fairway is, it's not a bad miss for how I swung it, where it hit on the club face, which was, again, closer to the toe, which is why we had that right to left spin on it. Again, a number that's standing out for me that I'm really shocked to see is the efficiency at 1.44. That is very, very high. That's higher than you're gonna see with most 3-woods for sure. Oh my goodness, that could have been the best one. Beautiful, tight little draw. Not gonna go quite as far, 248. My club head speed was down there, 95. Last one here though, let's see what happens. Ooh, I hit behind it. I hit behind it, so that's about as bad as I could hit this. And look at that, still middle of the fairway, lost a ton of distance. Guys, I don't know what to tell you other than I can't believe I waited this long to review a mini driver, and thanks to all the folks that left comments on previous videos asking me to take a look at this one, because I am so glad I did. And this won't be the only mini driver that you're gonna see on Let's Play Through. So make sure you're subscribed because I've got the TaylorMade 300 mini driver as well as the slider. I bought actually all three of these secondhand because I bought this in the used section of the PGA Tour Superstore. They were sold out on the website. So we went used for all three clubs. I'm gonna see, can you get away with a $99 club against the $259 or the over $400 that I paid secondhand for this model? We'll take a look at all of that in an upcoming edition of Let's Play Through, but I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you back here soon.